If you're trying to make any kind of meaningful, effective change in your life, you've come to the right place. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to We're Talking Shift. So last week we spoke with Neale Donald Walsch about our relationship with God, or if you prefer another reference, higher power, creator, source energy, whatever works for you. But we talked about, among many other things, the God dilemma and the God solution. So this week, we're going to be talking about relationship dilemmas and solutions. So you have heard me share a lot of, as I call them, RelationShift tips over the past 3 years. So I thought it would be really fun to get some intel from another expert to add to your box of tools. So you all know that when your relationship is in turmoil, or maybe it's not in turmoil, maybe it's just sort of beige, when it's like that, it kind of tends to bleed into and overshadow everything else that's going on in your life. But when it's thriving, well, then it seems to help elevate all of the other aspects of your life. So my guest today helps couples take every aspect of their relationship to new heights so that they can thrive. Allana Pratt is an intimacy expert. She's a relationship coach, the author of 6 books, and host of the very edgy podcast, Intimate Conversations, and the creator of the newly launched intimacy training and partnering app called Heartmates. So I am very much looking forward to getting her take on a few things. So without further ado, Allana, welcome to We're Talking Shift.
Oh, Loree, it's really wonderful to be here. And it's funny because we talked about that going rogue story. And right out of the gate, mentioning Neale Donald Walsch, I have like a going rogue conversations with God story. So we're going to have a good time today, I can tell already.
That's awesome. So I want, since you brought that up, usually we do that later on in the show, but let's just go with it right now. Tell me your story.
Well, thank you. So it was Y2K. Remember when it was going to be year 2000 and the world was going to come to an end?
Yeah.
Well, I was flying from Vancouver to LA and I was reading one of the Conversations with God books. And there was this beautiful passage and the energy on the flight was so contracted, like we were all going to die. And so I had this inspiration and my heart starts pumping and I'm like, oh, just you be quiet. Little inspiration from my heart. And it's got louder and louder, almost like it pulled me out of my seat. So up I went to the flight attendants and I said, do you think it would be okay or support the passengers if I just read this little passage from this book by this cool guy, Neale Donald Walsch? I think it just might, put more ease onto the flight. So they're like, sure. This is, of course, before 9/11 when you could like go up and talk to the, talk to everybody, right?
Yeah. That's so cool.
I read a little story and as I was walking back to 9F was very far. Everybody was looking at me weird after, like, who's this crazy person? But then the pilot got on. He said, well, we're at 35,000 feet. And wasn't that lovely? Why don't you turn to one of the friends next to you and just make a new friend? And so it was totally inspired by Neale. And it's one of those moments where are you going to be fully self-expressed? And this comes all the way back to who are you going to be in your marriage, in your relationship, in the bedroom, at dinner, are you going to be fully self-expressed and listen to those whispers of your heart? Or are you just going to play it safe, not risk rejection, just look good, do it right, seek approval? So that's an example of me walking my talk of, you never know who you can be.
Yeah. I mean, I think that took some brass ovaries there, girl. I mean, because you know what? Because like you said, I mean, are you going to kind of follow that little nudge of inspiration because you had this inspiration, like I really want to share this, but a lot of us, myself included, I might feel that way, but I might be. Then the next thought would be, oh God, people are going to think I'm loony. Rejection, disapproval, you're nuts. All of the reasons that you feel like you should just be still and keep your mouth shut. So I think that is an amazing going rogue story because that took some nerve and courage.
It did. And yet the bigger picture was the well-being of everybody on the flight, right? And the smaller picture was, well, I'm sure a lot of people did think I was, batshit crazy. And yet, isn't it also interesting when a person of authority, like the pilot said, wasn't that lovely, conversation erupted within the plane. Right. And to really have a look at, where are we seeking approval to be our fullest self? The pilot or our soul, right? And to take our power back and to really let our own love lead the way.
Yeah. And that's such a perfect demonstration of why I love it when a guest shares a going rogue story, because when you demonstrate something like that in your life, it literally gives people permission to do the same. Now they feel like, wow, she did that. Maybe I could do something that I feel is just as risky or seemingly crazy. So it's just, and when you're talking about the subject of spirituality or God, it's surprising how many people are so open to that, but we have gotten to a point in our society where we have a tendency to kind of hold back because we're not sure if, people are going to think, oh, you're one of those people, like there's something something wrong with that, or something like old school about that, or but once you bring it up, it's the rare person that doesn't go, oh, I'm so glad you said that. I feel like that too, or I have similar thoughts and feelings. And I love it when there's somebody that I can talk with about it. It's really interesting.
Yeah. It's my love of being intimate with myself and with other people. That's why I've been divorced twice, so I don't call myself a marriage expert. I do call myself an intimacy expert, because the reason why those relationships didn't work is that I didn't slow down and get vulnerable and transparent and honest with myself. I didn't have that honest, real, raw relationship with the divine. And clearly, it wasn't passing through from the inside to the outside in my beloved relationships. So I think it's very important for us to come to terms with, be at peace with, all the way to celebrate what's uniquely dorky and magnificent about each of us.
Right.
And shine that, because it's going to polarize who's not meant to be in your life. And it's going to attract, like a vortex, without even any effort, exactly who's meant to be in your life, personally, professionally. And it's just easier to be who you are rather than contract. And what did I say to this one? Oh, I better not say that, because I don't like
editing yourself is a lot of work.
Yes, it's exhausting.
Right? Yeah. It's exhausting. It's a lot of work. It's no fun, right? Because you're trying to be what you think you should be.
Yes.
How you think somebody else wants you to be, so that, you're showing up the way that you feel is going to be acceptable and, lovable to them. And there's something wrong with that. That's it's definitely the opposite of feeling free. And you're right. You're not going to be able to have an honest relationship because you're actually not being honest
with yourself. And of course, I speak from total transformation in this area, because I think I got like a PhD in people pleasing. I was raised very much to be 3 steps ahead. Got to be safe, got to look good, don't get rejected, or dad might blow, or whatever would happen growing up. And so I know what it's like to viscerally feel that sense of terror and that hypervigilance of being 3 steps ahead to be safe, look good, get approval. It happened for most of my life. I'm only very recently feeling freer inside to just be the expression of my soul. So I have great compassion for any of us. I call it like being miswired from the outside in versus the inside out. I was highly miswired. And it's okay. It makes us have drive. I graduated cum laude from an Ivy League school. I lived, in Japan. I was a model. Like, I've been very successful. But if I was to really slow down and tell the truth, it was driven. It was like motivated by fear. It wasn't inspired by love. It wasn't unattached. Right. So it's a journey.
Interesting. It is. But going through that, and now that you've, rewired, I love the way you said miswired. That's a really great way to put it. But now also it makes you able to be very empathetic and understanding of the place that other people are coming from with their struggles, because you've been in your own, through your own challenges. And I'll tell you what else is kind of cool about this is, this is going to be very interesting to me, because I've been happily married for 37 years.
Nice.
So the as I call them, RelationShift tips that
Yeah.
I've talked about it through various podcasts over the last few years, coming from my own experience, I'll be curious to see you coming from a whole different experience. You're going to have, some different viewpoints, some different, advice or guidance or suggestions for people to consider. And I think that's going to be really interesting because you've had
Mm.
a whole different journey than I have.
Yes,
Fun.
yes. I
Yeah.
th- I figure we both have probably had just as many lessons. You just had it with the same person, and I had it
Right.
with different people,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, because it's definitely been a learning curve throughout, for
I'm
both of
sure.
us. So this is going to be fun. So first of all, what led you to becoming an intimacy expert and a relationship coach? How did you get from being modeling in Japan, for example, and the other things you talked about to doing this?
Yeah, my first husband, I was tall, dark, and handsome, multimillionaire, kind man. But I hadn't done any personal growth work yet, so I still had a lot of daddy issues. And as I alluded to before, wanting to be safe all the time, a man is a plan, and a rich, handsome one at that. And so what I found in that relationship was that I was trying so hard to control the situation to get his approval. And of course, that event, if you're seeking that, you push the person away. So 6 years, 6 years of our relationship that completed, we moved from Tokyo. He was an expat over there. We moved to New York City, and then we moved to LA. And when I got to LA, I found more of my people. It wasn't weird that I hid in the closet to meditate because he thought that was a little strange, my spiritual, techniques and such. So that relationship ended. Next relationship started right when my mom was dying of cancer.
Mm.
My heart was closed. So we attract who we're being. So I attract another closed hearted individual. And again, I thought the first one was a man as a plan. The second one is a baby as a plan. Oh, I'll just have a baby and everything will be fine.
Mm.
No, mom died. And within a year, it was like, oh dear, I've made a mistake again. And the only one in common was me. And so as I started to slow down and really do the inner work, I realized, as I said before, I didn't have an intimate relationship with myself. When I looked inside, any of the insecurities I found, the humiliation I found, the scared little girl I found, I wanted nothing to do with her. Chop, chop, 2x4. Come on, put you in a good mood. Let's look good.
Mm.
Let's achieve more. Let's accomplish more. Let's spin faster. And so it really was a homecoming to myself, and not to fix myself, not to change myself. I literally, that second relationship led to about a 12-year custody battle. He was
Oh.
not thrilled that I, from his point of view, humiliated him and left him. I said I would be with him forever, and I broke my word. So he
Mm.
wanted revenge. And remember, he had a
Ow.
closed heart because I had a closed heart, and I had to
Ah.
take ownership of that. And so there was a time when our son was about 15, where he said, Mom, I'm going to live with dad. I need you to take the high road. I know you still have physical and legal custody, but it's the only way we'll have peace. And so I did. I took the high road and I let him live with his dad. And I went out and I had sort of a controlled nervous breakdown in a cabin in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And I sat out on that deck and I wrote down all my fears. Maybe he'll never call me again. Maybe everyone will opt out of Facebook. Maybe I'll go bankrupt. Maybe I'll die alone. I just kept writing them down.
Mm-hmm.
And then I put these bookends on those statements, Loree, and I said, even if everybody opts out of Facebook and I lose my business and I'm a barista in Costa Rica, whatever, I love and accept myself. Even if my son never calls me again, I love and accept myself. Even if I die alone and never find love, I love and accept myself. And I began to cultivate this internal, intimate relationship. And I began to visualize, think the thoughts, visualize, feel the emotions, feel the full body sensations of what it was like to be in zero resistance to myself.
Mm-hmm.
All I'd ever known was judgment of self, judgment of self, judgment of self. And then I imagined looking at little Allana and saying, you know what? Even if you never change for eternity, I'm not going anywhere. I got your back. It was the first moment I'd ever truly experienced unconditional love without condition. Like,
Mm-hmm.
even if you're single forever, never change, blah, 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 I'm not going anywhere. And then
Yeah.
there was this direct experience with the divine. Like, as soon as it was like little Russian dolls, like I kind of had my back. And then I felt the universe that had always been there having my back, but I wouldn't let it in because my heart was closed, too busy
Mhm.
judging myself. And then
Yeah.
I felt I was on that cabin, that deck, and I'm like, I'm all alone. My life totally sucks, but I'm so happy. I'm one with God. This is amazing. Okay, I think I'm onto something.
You had an epiphany.
I did. I had a direct experience with the divine. And I said, okay, I'm not going to be a marriage expert. Relationships, well, certainly relationship with self. Let's call this an intimacy expert. Let's make intimacy beyond just bound, chicka, bound sex. Let's
Yeah.
have it be about our relationship with ourself, our body, our dreams, the divine. And if we can do that inward work well, I bet you it's going to have a better effect on my dating life, on my marriage to be life. And of course, my business exploded at that point. They're like, wow, you're vulnerable. Teach me how to not judge myself and keep my heart open. Teach me how to be okay if I'm single forever or married forever. It's not even about that. It's about this becoming the one, having this relationship with ourselves.
Yeah.
And so that's how I got here.
That's fantastic. Not at all what I expected, which I love, And I mean, it's just kind of very interesting how this has flowed from the beginning here, where I was talking about, Neale Donald Walsch and Conversations with God, how this has flowed into this, because really you're so spot on with that. I mean, if you, and I'm sure you have the same conversation and talk about these things with your clients. I know I do. Everybody is so busy looking for everything to be made right for them, and they're looking for it all out there by this person or this thing or this opportunity or this experience or whatever, and it can't fill that spot that's within that you need to cultivate from within. That's your go-to place. That's the place that never leaves you. All you have to do is step into it and cultivate it and show up for it.
Yeah.
Because it's always there.
It is always there. And it's hidden. There's a beautiful quote by Rumi, and I'll butcher it, but something to do with, it's not about seeking love. It's about removing the veils to it.
Yeah.
So it is work. It is about
like a reveal.
It's about meeting our wobbly parts and not judging them, and not trying to focus so much on the pleasure of our accomplishments or avoiding the pain of our challenges, but just letting it all be one big yes. And actually, I just turned 52 on Saturday, and I am by myself in a home in Airbnb in the middle of Wyoming, in the middle of nowhere. And I had a filet mignon dinner, and I roasted all these vegetables, and I had my glass of champagne. And I was watching Eat, Pray, Love, because I'm moving to India in 2 weeks for a year.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'll tell you about that in a second. But there and I'd had lovely texts from some of my staff, my clients, my friends. But I sat there, and I swear, and I guess we never get there, right? We're always growing, always evolving.
Yeah.
But I was very alone. I didn't feel alone. I felt literally energetically connected to all the people I love, connected to the divine, and I didn't feel sad. I was just so home in my body and in my life while sitting there totally alone.
Yeah, at peace.
I was, yeah.
That's amazing. I have to say, where in Wyoming are you? I'm in Wyoming. I live in Cody, Wyoming.
I don't know.
I'm in Cody, Wyoming right now. So where are you?
Lander.
You're not even that far from where I live. That's bizarre.
We should have coffee. I mean, like, I swear, there's like reindeer everywhere, or like deer and horses, like I'm in the middle of nowhere.
Yes. That's bizarre. I mean, a lot of people, if you ask them to where Wyoming is, they're not even sure. They're like, where's Wyoming again? So the fact that you are actually, I think you're only within like 2 hours from me.
Oh my God.
In Wyoming. We'll talk about that at the end of the show, especially if and then you're moving to India. So I got you just in time before you leave the country. Is that like a permanent move, a temporary move?
It'll be for a year to start. When COVID hit, I had this, another one of those inspirations, like to get up and read to the airplane on Y2K. I had another one of those moments, like you need to I saw like a wave, like a surf. And it was a wave of fear of the mental health crisis that was coming. I could feel this wave of fear coming, and I knew I had to get up ahead of it. I knew I had to surf it. I knew I had to be of service. And so I'm sure, like you, we've been in our businesses for a while. I've been doing this for 2 decades. And I have private clients, group clients, retreats. That's been my business. And yet I knew I had to leverage larger, bigger. I had to scale, had to be able to serve more people. And so dating apps, in my opinion, are designed to keep people single. They don't make money if you heal your heart, learn how to communicate effectively, keep your heart open in the face of anything. No. They want you to just mess it up, fuck it up, and go right back on the app so they make more money. That's the business structure.
Great observation. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've been on them and my clients have been on them. And so I, in that moment, had an idea to create the world's first partnering app, because dating apps don't work. And our partnering app has online intimacy training to do all of that inner work so the relationship with yourself and your beloved thrives. We also have live conscious connection calls every week, and we practice what we call dyads, asking deep, meaningful questions, speaking really authentically. And the listener, all the listener says is thank you, which doesn't even mean I agree. It just means I heard you.
Yeah.
And you get the experience of full self-expression in a totally safe, seen, and understood way. And so you practice what it is to then take that skill out in the dating world. But we also have a different business model. We go from it's called Heartmates instead of soulmates, heartmates.
I love that.
Thank you. It goes from Heartmates for singles into Heartmates for couples, because I'm committed that you become the one. So you're full. And then that vibrationally attracts the one, you find the one, but then you've learned the skills to keep the one and thrive with the one. So our 2 curriculums are there for the long haul for people.
Yeah.
So I invested my own money. Then I ran out of my own money. So I got investors, and then that's dwindling down. And the friggin' app, Loree, is still not working.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Well, it's a much bigger endeavor than I had any idea how hard it would be. So I have this team of 11 people, 12 people in India, and I'm learning about a different culture. Anything I say, they say yes, but it's a no, but they don't want to disappoint me. And so I'm like, okay, I need to figure this shit out. So I decided, I actually just had a breakup over the Thanksgiving, Christmas break. And I thought, you know what? What's the most important thing to me? Being me and giving to humanity. So I spoke to the tech guy, a little bit cranky. I'm a Canadian. Canadians are very polite, but I wasn't so polite. And I said, you know what? $200,000 in a year and a half later, and the app doesn't work, and my credibility to my clients is going down. The intimacy training is solid. The conscious connection calls are solid, but there's nothing but bugs that won't get fixed. You know, what's going to give? And he's like, he took total ownership, and he's like, okay, you're right. We're going to build it on a better foundation, a better structure. We're not going to charge you until it's been totally rebuilt and tested, and you will be our first entrepreneur in residence. Please come to India. Let us put you up, give you a car, and you will come to the office, and you will infuse the culture with your message, and we will knock this through the park. We will.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
That's amazing.
How could you say no to that?
Well, I did at first because I was scared. But I've lived in Japan before. I've backpacked all over Thailand and China. That was back when I was 20. I'm now 50. But I'm like, I don't want a backpack. Can I have a house?
Yeah.
I don't want to just like take little tuk-tuks. I want a car. But let's do this. So yeah, I leave in 2 weeks. Me and my cat. We're taking off to India.
Oh my God. Wow. Yeah. Well, I'm excited for you, and I would love to have updates because I'm super curious as to how this is going to go. You know, not only that, but I'm obviously very interested in what you do, but then doing that over there and that experience is pretty fascinating. So I'd love to stay on top of that with you. Thank you. Yeah, really cool. And thank you for being so open and honest about this journey, because that's a bumpy ride, and that's been costly, and you're still going. You're like, I'm taking this to the finish line. Like, if I have to go to India, that's amazing.
Yeah. Thank you. Some people call me brave. Other people call me stubborn, but it's a bit of both. But when I know something's meant to be, I might not know exactly how it's going to turn out, but I know go that direction. Just like when I hopped on Uncle Phil's 18-wheel semi, when I was like 19 years old from Canada down to LA, I just knew that I didn't want to be a pharmacist like my dad. I didn't want to be a teacher like my mom. And that was on the track I was on. So I quit. I got on Uncle Phil's 18-wheeler and I went down to LA to be a dancer, because I'd been a dancer since I was 5 years old. Jazz, ballet, tap. And I'm like, I could just get a job on a cruise line or something. And I was talented enough and brave enough, but I didn't have the visa, the work visa. So that's why I moved to Tokyo. So the energy was go to LA. The universe was like, go to Tokyo. But I followed it. So here I am following this app all the way to India, and who knows what the next left turn will be. But I feel it. It's sort of like when you don't have the high beams of exactly where you're going. You just sort of have the lights in front of you. So but you know what you know. Yeah.
Yeah, you do. You just follow that divine nudge, and you have trust and faith, and you go into the darkness.
Yes. Oh God. Yeah. So,
there's going to be a light, though. There's going to be a light ahead. That's awesome. Okay. So let's talk about a few things that could help some of our listeners, just maybe with their own stuff going on, either with themselves and or their partners. It's just some basic things, but it seems like the basic things are the things that trip people up constantly. So, and we talked a little bit about this anyway, just trying to show up and just be yourself, be your honest to goodness self. And so the common pattern, I know that you've been there, you've seen it with clients, I do, and it's people trying to change each other so that, everything's great, you get together, and then after some period of time, all of a sudden, somehow the things shift and people start looking for, they start seeing what they feel isn't right or needs to be changed or needs to be fixed with the other person. Yeah. And I find that that's a common pattern, right? So what is a tip that you give people when they start noticing in themselves that, or maybe first of all, you need to recognize if you're doing that. And then what do you do about it?
Yeah,
what do you say?
Awareness. And just so you know, I've been another PhD in trying to change people. So I'm speaking from experience and compassion here, and a little expertise as I become more masterful. And I'm still a hot mess from time to time, just so we all know. Okay. Yeah. So when we first are aware, we're trying to fix them. We're probably going to become aware because they get defensive back, because it doesn't feel good to be fixed or judged. So you'll be noticing they're getting very defensive, and then you can make them wrong for being defensive, but that's not going to get you anywhere. Take a beat, take a pause, take a bathroom break, take a walk around the property, whatever you need to do, and realize you're doing it. Number one, awareness. Number two, please don't judge yourself for what you just became aware of. Okay. You are doing your best because you're probably afraid to deal with what your own shit is. And it's just so much easier to project it and try to fix them over there rather than sit in your own stuff. So the next phase would be, so no judgment. And the third would be sit in your own stuff, because guess what? They're you. You're them. We're all one. Even if they're doing it 99% more annoyingly than you do it, it's only triggering you because you're doing it too, to yourself or to someone else, and probably both. So if you can go, okay, they judge, they erupt, they're angry, they yell, okay, that's accurate. It's an accurate assessment of what's going on. But where do you yell at yourself? Where do you criticize yourself? Where do you snap at the kids? Where are you not kind to the waitress? Where are you not appreciative of the investors? Like, you can look everywhere: physical, mental, spiritual, vocational, financial, parental, social, romantic, sexual. Like, go through every freaking area of your life, and you will find where you are them. Very humbling. Very humbling.
Where you're doing your version of the same thing.
Totally. So it'll be empowering. It'll take your attention off of them, which gives them a break and spaciousness to do their own work. And then you have a look at where you're doing it to yourself. You can change those. But then the real difficult part is where you're doing it to others, even according to their own point of view. And this one was a big one. When I went through that custody battle with my son's father, he did something where, what did I call him? Like a lying, conniving fuckhead or something. I was so bad. And my coach, because I'm a coach, but I also have coaches, because I think it's completely irresponsible to be a coach if you don't have coaches, because we can't see our own blind spots to save our life. So I said to my coach, he's a lying, conniving, blah. And he's like, where are you, Allana? And I'm just like, and I could find it towards myself. Like, I broke my word to myself. I was a bitch to myself. He goes, oh, that's kindergarten. Where do you do that to others? Even if it's just according to their own point of view. Like, for example, your ex. Where have you been a lying, conniving fuckhead to him?
Ah,
And
ouch.
that's when I saw that according to his point of view, I humiliated him. I lied to him. I humiliated him in front of all of his friends, and he was crushed. And when I got that, I didn't condone what I was mad about with that behavior,
Yeah.
but a wash of compassion came over me. And I realized he is me and I am him, and we are one. And my heart opened and my whole body softened. So that's some intense homework, but that's the level of coaching that I bring to people
Yeah.
when they are caught in that pattern of fixing another. It's really a gift to do our own work. Now, the plan is that both people do that same homework. The plan is that both people take ownership and grow and stop blaming or fixing or nitpicking each other, and that there becomes a place of appreciation and gratitude for the spaciousness and the inspiration and respect of the other one doing their own work, which then brings the couple back together at a higher level of evolution, gratitude, appreciation, self-ownership, humility, like everything. Now, the relationships that make it long-term, like yours, Loree, I'm sure you both do the work.
Yeah.
Relationships that I help consciously uncouple, it's basically where one does the work and the other pretends, futzes around, but actually is not interested. And
Yeah.
then they end.
Yeah. And that's such a good point. Because a couple things there. First of all, I think people that are in relationship and really, and this is a challenge for them. So they're struggling through this a little bit. I think also understanding that you're not going to, even if you're working together, you're not going to be working at the same pace. Sometimes
Right.
somebody's going to be moving, evolving or growing a little bit more or faster, or, kind of expanding in a different way. And the other one is not quite there yet. So also I think having faith that if they want to, if they've expressed that they really want to make it work, giving them the space and the time to
Yeah.
evolve and grow at their pace, and
Yeah.
coming through the way that they've been wired. That takes a while, and we don't all do it at the same time, at the same pace, and
True.
it's it can get a little bit messy. But if you're committed,
Yeah.
and you have the faith, and you've both said, no, we really want this, it's worth going through the work and being patient
Yeah.
with each other.
Yeah. My programs, I've been coaching for 20 years, and I find the sweet spot is about a year. And I like to have some private time with them. I do group calls every single week, so nobody thinks they're alone in this. We're all in this together. And then also some online training as well, so they can do some more meditations and worksheets at home. And when you just put it on pause, you put the decision to stay together or break up on pause for a year, and you just dive in and you do the work, and you just let it be. Without that, well, I need to know. But that's that external circumstance that we need to feel safe on the inside. That's the miswiring. We're going to cultivate that safety on the inside out without knowing the outcome, totally in the face of uncertainty, completely surfing the unknown for a year. I got you. The community's got you. You've still got each other. Let's just go through this and see what happens. And that's really the land of miracles.
It is.
Burn the bridge, have an intention, let go of attachment, dive in, roll up your sleeves. Let's get messy. Let's have some fun. Let's cry. Let's laugh. Let's swear. Let's do this.
Right.
And I sprinkle in some retreats as well, so they have time to be, really immersed for a good 4 or 5 days in community and away from all of the reminders. Yeah. Many, many magical relationships have unfolded, and even magically uncouple by the end of the year, grateful and loving each other and great co-parents or whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's only about 20% of the time, but it doesn't have to end like mine did with that long ass custody battle. It doesn't have to go that way.
Yeah. And I think that's such another great point too, because not everybody is just meant to go the distance.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just meant to be for a season of your life. you know,
Yes.
what, however long that season lasts. And so being able to coach people through that, if they're going to be going their own way and not continuing the relationship, to at least, okay, let's do this. Let's find the way that's the most harmonious, the most loving, the
Yes.
most supportive, so that
Yes.
everyone can feel good about it. You don't have to, you know, go into battle mode and then, you know, be in enemy
Yeah.
camps the rest of your life. What an awful state to exist in.
Yes. And then you're going to just go repeat the same mistake with the next person because you
Yes.
didn't grow. Right.
Right.
So it's worth doing the work regardless of
Yeah.
the outcome. And it also shows people there's a lot of judgment in our society. Like if you had the same job for 50 years, you're somehow better than if you had 10 jobs over those 50 years. If you've had one partner over your whole life, you're somehow better than if you've had 5 partners over your life. Like there's there's a judgment to how people grow and learn. And
Yeah.
even, I don't know if you have kids, but kids
Yeah.
learn differently. Boys and girls learn differently.
Oh,
Like,
yes.
no, boys are bad because they can't sit still or whatever. Like I have a son. You don't talk to him like you talk to a girl, you know,
Oh,
sitting
no.
having coffee. He's beside me. We're going for a walk. We're on the trampoline. It's different. But he's
Yes.
not bad or wrong because he's not a girl or doing
Yeah.
it my way or what have you. So I just really love to strip away all identities, judgments, expectations, conclusions, and just honor each soul for its own beautiful, unique journey, personally, professionally, romantically, spiritually. I mean, some people don't quote unquote wake up and start listening to your show till they're 60. Some people are probably 20 years old listening right now, right? Like everybody has their own path. So just to
Right.
be kind, be more kind to each other. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We could use a lot more kindness going around, a
Yeah.
lot,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
There's some fundamental things that everybody knows logically they should be doing more of, as far as behavior and,
Mm.
you know, toward themselves and towards others. But somehow, somehow those very fundamental, simple, not complicated things
Yeah.
have a tendency to get overshadowed by a lot of other stuff. And it doesn't have to be that way. It really is, you know, the awareness and a mental training. And if you will just practice those
Yeah.
things,
Yeah.
it is amazing how your experience of life will shift, no matter what challenges you may be dealing with at the moment. But having that different mindset and that different outlook and that different patterned behavior toward yourself and others, it
Yes.
just makes everything, no matter what your challenges are, what speed bumps you're navigating, you if you're going to do it anyway, why not do it in the most pleasant way you possibly
Right.
can, rather
Right.
than making what's hard harder and just
Totally.
uglier.
Yeah. And again, it comes back to intimacy. Can we be kind to ourselves? We can't be kind to the rest of the world if we're not first being kind to ourselves. So while
Yeah.
mindset is important, I'm very much more about heart set. And that's why my app is called Heart Mates, because I can have a positive attitude all day long, but it's like sprinkles on top of the ice cream cone of shit if meanwhile I am not feeling my feelings, slowing down to do my morning practice, prayer, meditation, journaling, and really listening to little Allana. Hey, sweet thing, what have I not slowed down to hear you say? Well, you avoided me. I was really sad the other day, and you just made dinner and went on Facebook. Like, you know, like she'll have a lot to say, or he will have a lot to say,
Right.
but only if we put in the structure of slowing down to face and feel, so that we can heal all the little wobbles inside. Otherwise, we just operate on top of it with 10 more affirmations and a great attitude. And then we get passive aggressive. And they say, you said I love you, but I don't feel it. You
Right.
made love to me, but you weren't even there. You know, this kind of thing. And I understand the actions from the head are different from the beingness from the heart.
Yeah, totally. And I think it's I like to really try to find that wonderful partnership between both,
Yeah.
right? Because, you know, if you're too much up here, then without heart, as you spoke to, it's very easy to become less warm, to become cold, to become
Totally.
cruel, to become analytical, to become less human,
Yeah.
right?
Just everything's
But
so
if you're
linear and yeah.
yeah. But if you're not using the gift that we have of being able to reason and logic and think and analyze, and you're only doing emotional things and heartfelt things, sometimes that also can, it needs to be tempered with the gift of our ability to think and
Yeah.
reason and logic and
Yeah.
steer a little bit, because one, either extreme without some temperance of the other, I think you get out of balance, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
just running around only being, following your emotions can also get you into trouble, right?
Yeah,
So
taxes, I don't feel like doing my taxes. Like it's gonna
yeah,
bite your ass soon if you don't get in the mood for your taxes. This is
right.
great. I don't know if you've ever had anybody from Heart Math on your show, but I had the blessing of leading one of their guided meditations at their annual conference in Cancun a couple of years ago. And Heart Math is literally the science that shows us how to have heart, mind, harmony, heart,
Perfect.
mind, unity. You must start in the heart. You cannot feel your way. I'm sorry, you can't think your way into coherence. You can only feel your way into coherence. So you must always start in the heart with appreciation. And if everything, your circumstances are so horrible, you can't feel appreciation, feel compassion. But as you do that, you literally, they can measure it. They can measure when your heart literally gets coherent. It's the same vibration as Mother Earth and the same vibration as the field. And what it does is it sends a signal to the brain, and it turns on the best of your brain, your prefrontal cortex, your reasoning, your abstract thinking, and it turns on your instincts, your intuition, so you can trust and hear yourself. And then also, it's the very same vibration as the field, the universe, God. You can hear divine guidance, but only if you first start in the heart and do the inner work to be coherent. And so many of us bypass the heart, spiritually bypass, say all the right words. I am that I am. And no, you're not. You're a hot mess. You need to steer your shit and do your
I love
work.
that.
Right?
Right. Just no, you're not.
No, you're not. I can
Let's
feel
just
it.
get real.
Well, we can feel it. We can feel
Yeah.
a bullshitter, and we can feel someone that you're just drawn to them. You feel safe and seen. You don't feel judged because they're the embodiment of non-judgment. They're the embodiment of compassion. They're the embodiment of appreciation, even for this. There's a gift even in this. You feel safe with them, and it's an entrainment. It's an energetic entrainment. They lift you without you even trying, being around these kinds of people.
Yeah.
So that's who we want to be with ourselves. That's who we want to be for our family, for our businesses. And again, that comes right back to that very intimate practice every morning of facing and feeling, so you can heal, become coherent. And then, as you said, bring on in harmony the best of your mind. And that's when we have those great ideas, and we don't have to throw spaghetti on the wall, freaking out of how we're going to get the next client or how are we going to free. No, you like, I know what I know. I take one action, bingo.
I love that. Heart Math. I made a note of that because I have not investigated that. So I'm
they're
totally
lovely people. Yes.
That sounds pretty interesting because it sounds like exactly what I believe. And so learning more about that is really calling to me. That's interesting. And you know what else I wanted to say before we move on is it's I think really encouraging people to do what you're talking about, which is you have to spend some time alone with yourself. And having a conversation with yourself and asking yourself some, what I call quality questions and answering them. Because I think so many people, I mean, you get up and you are on autopilot, which usually for most people is reacting to whatever pops up in front of them for the day. Right.
Totally.
And you, there's either just, you're not in the practice of it. You don't know that maybe it's going to be beneficial, or there's a resistance to it. There's a big resistance to sitting down and getting intimate in that way with yourself and just having these deep conversations. And then you're just sort of glazing the surface of your life.
And then they kick dirt in your face and it's over. Yeah. I have great compassion for people that say, oh, sure, I'm going to get up early and I'm going to face and feel. Well, the first time you feel, it's going to be like Niagara Falls if you haven't been feeling. And it's going to be terrifying. There'll be so much anger, so much rage, so much shame, so much guilt, so much terror. There's going to be so much something you're like, oh, hell no, I'm just going to go get busy again. So that's the beauty of the different programs that I've created. We literally have these quantum psychology processes that teach people not just to feel for the sake of feeling. We feel to integrate, to process, to heal. that trauma, wound, trigger that happened, it didn't happen because you're a bad person. It happened to grow you and evolve you. But you didn't get the wisdom yet because it has to be integrated to get the wisdom. The wisdom is like bravery, compassion, the ability to speak up, the ability to let go. All those are capacities that start over here in pain, shame, betrayal, abuse, abandonment, where it starts. Okay, but if you do the work, you get to be so confident from the inside out. But there's a way to do it that's supportive. And this is I am kind of geeky sometimes with science. Basically, just therapy alone doesn't do the trick. Just a vision board alone doesn't do the trick. Just some tapping somatic doesn't do the trick. Just a good cry and a glass of wine and a tequila shot in the bath or whatever doesn't do the trick.
They're Band-Aids.
No, they're Band-Aids. But together, and this is what I've learned in my quantum psychology training, image, thought, emotion, body sensation, all 4 elements, when matched in a process, will duplicate and dissolve it into the higher vibration. But only 3 out of 4, 2 out of 4, 1 out of 4, what you resist persists, and it actually makes it grow. I don't know about you, but I have clients that said, I've been in therapy for 3 years and it's worse. I go, yes, because you're just talking about it. It's not enough. It's not enough. But these processes are spooky, crazy effective, and they integrate it. And you're like, oh my God, it's like lasting change. Okay, now let's go for the next one. Lasting change, which is also why we do it for a year. And that's also why we do it in the group calls as well, because I can integrate 6 to 10 people in one call, and everybody gets 6 to 10 times the results because they're watching everybody else. Sometimes it's hard to be the one I'm talking to. It's like, oh my God, everybody's watching. But if we're watching Joanne or George, well, I can get right in there and I can go along with that process, breathe through that process, visualize that process, affirm that process. So people, I like to think that there's more value in a private session because it's just me. But often at the end of these calls, I say, what's the greatest value you got out of our group call today? And my ego wants them to say, oh, Allana, you were so, and they're like,
you're amazing.
When Joanne did this, it changed my life. And when George said that, it's like my life is forever different. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Together, we get farther faster. This is really why we're meant to rise together. In these group calls, the vibration, all the integration, by the end of it, it's so safe. We just soar. Phenomenal. I love what I've learned. I love what I can teach. I love, so good.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think you're right though, because there is obviously a lot of value depending on the person and their circumstances in having your private time, of course. For sure. But there is huge value in being in a group because there's always something, if you're willing to be open and you're willing to go, how does that apply to my life? What version of that is going on with me? Because there's usually some sort of connective tissue there, like you said. 100%. And sometimes a person will recognize it right away and go, oh yeah, that's me. Or sometimes they don't recognize it right away, but then they think about it and they let it marinate and they go, you know what? I do see how that's either played out in my life or whatever. And you do gain a lot from listening to other people's experiences, for sure.
Yes. And let's say you've been through a horrible divorce or a betrayal within your divorce, and you're just speaking up and being vulnerable just feels like I can't do that. So to go from 0 to 60 out into the dating game again, or right back into talking with your spouse again when you just feel so betrayed, it's a big leap. But the middle step of being in a group, practicing in this safe container, every single week, a little bit more, you kind of get your groove back. You get your confidence back. You realize, wow, I was totally vulnerable. Nobody killed me. Nobody laughed at me. In fact, they were inspired and grateful. That's curious. Yeah. And then you grow and you're like, wow, I'm not everybody's cup of tea. But when I'm 100% myself, my people show up. And the ones that aren't my people self-select and they leave. Wow. Yeah. Okay. And I can live through potential rejection. I can live through real rejection. And I don't have to reject myself. Wow, how curious. If people have a pattern of being rejected a lot on the outside by a spouse or dating, you have a little look like that exercise I gave back at the beginning. How much do you reject yourself?
Yeah. That's such a common thing. And sometimes people are aware of it. Sometimes they're not. They, you need to go through the process to help them become aware of it. But that's such a big thing with people. And of course, just as humans, you know, connection is like one of the top needs that we all have. So
Right? Yeah,
rejection is the absolute opposite of that. That's the punishment, right?
yeah,
That's
yeah,
like being put in solitary. I mean, you don't want to be, nobody wants to be rejected on any
yeah,
level.
yeah,
It's a terrible feeling. So it's interesting when you have a group, you know, people that are comfortable being in a group and give that a try. Then also, not only are, you know, everybody that's listening and watching, are they gaining something from it, but the person that is sharing something that maybe has been, they've not shared before, or they're very nervous about. And then they feel this sense of freedom, right? After
yeah,
they're like, wow, yeah, my head didn't, you know, spin off my shoulders and burst into a million pieces. I'm still alive.
yeah,
And nobody's rejected me. Nobody's, you know, thrown eggs at the screen. In fact,
yeah.
it's the opposite, right? So
Yes,
yeah, so they
it's
really get fueled in a
yes,
positive way. Hmm.
totally. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And to know that your most vulnerable, brave moment was a benefit to another. And you come back
Mm-hmm.
next week and they're like, when you shared that last week, I did this week and I just created, I'm an inspiration. Oh my God. So
Mm-hmm.
it cultivates this sense of confidence, not from our external accomplishments and achievements that we normally look for confidence. It's like this
Mm-hmm.
inner confidence where
Mm-hmm.
me being me is a contribution. Wow. Like that, nobody can take that away. You know, you can
Yeah,
lose a job, you can lose a partner, you can lose, but that's yours to keep. Yeah,
right. Yeah,
beautiful.
that's beautiful. So, all right, let's touch on for a minute about what have you seen since this whole you know year or two of chaos has ensued.
Yeah,
Have you noticed that there are like extra things that couples are dealing with, like if they had problems before, have they been exacerbated in
yes.
this period? Or yeah, what's your observation been, and what kind of things might you be able to share, a couple of things to say, look, if you know, if you guys had some things before and then this period of time has caused them to become even larger,
Yeah,
what to do, where should you
yeah,
start?
yeah. Well, first, when before it all went down, we could sort of gloss over things. And because we didn't have a lot of stress, didn't have a lot of uncertainty, didn't have, you know, we could,
Mhm.
oh, another 5 years has passed and we still haven't talked about the budget. You know,
Yeah.
another 5 years has passed. We still haven't talked about why sex is the same. We haven't talked about our differences in spirituality or religion with the kids. Like we just haven't talked about any of it because we just sort of don't have to. Well, when you're stuck in a house and you're under so much stress and uncertainty, and many people would lose loved ones or lose jobs or lose all these kind of things, what really matters gets really clear. So people either shut down more drugs, suicide
Hmm.
rates are higher, you know, more of those coping mechanisms,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
the opposite. All right, let's roll up our sleeves, let's open our heart, let's really have some heart to heart conversations here. And what can we do about it? So I obviously get the pleasure and privilege of working with the people who have rolled up their sleeves and said, okay, this has never really worked. We want to make this work. And then if it doesn't, help us to complete, or they're single. And you know what? My Game Boy or whatever they call it, or you know, my like playing video games and eating pizza and jacking off on porn has worked. But now, you know, I'd actually really like a relationship, but I don't even know how to talk to a girl, or she's
Right.
so in her masculine. I've just worked and worked and worked, so I don't have to be vulnerable and open my heart and have another man
Yeah.
hurt me again. And I'm going to stay with my story that all men are. Okay, I'm willing
Mhm.
to forgive and open my heart and learn how to soften. I still want to be a badass businesswoman, but I'm willing to see the value in my femininity and in my softness. And I'm
Mhm.
terrified. I'm terrified to let go of control. So these are some of the stories I hear from single men and women, or people in relationship. And
Mhm.
the way the answer is always, the way through is the way through. That's the answer. There's no way through but through. And it always starts with intimacy with self and letting go of blame of others, integrating the blame of others into gratitude of the lesson that all those things really provided you, that nothing
Yeah.
is against you, everything is for you. But leaning into a real betrayal is not easy, but there's a gift in there. And to
Yeah.
really own where we're addicted to pleasure and resisting pain, which means we're always going to be on a roller coaster, always addicted to something on the outside to feel okay on the inside. So if
Yeah.
you're ready to take your power back, and do all this inner work and really be the king or the queen that you are, either to shift your relationship that you're in or to cultivate a new one, that's the way through. And so again, it's just what we've been talking about before, self-forgiveness, learning how to feel and integrate emotions, forgive the past, not just sprinkles, but literally, thank you for giving me this experience because I've discovered, I've learned, I've integrated, I've embodied, I've become, like, own it. And then of course, at the end would be the communication skills of how to continue that intimate relationship with yourself, the divine, and your beloved. Like, date night is lovely, but do you just talk about the kids? Do you just talk about work? Do you just sit on your phone and not even look at each other?
Oh, I see that all the time.
Perfunctory sex, and then that was date night. Like, no,
right.
let's really like, and I have all these beautiful dyads, these deep, meaningful questions. And people are like, I literally had this one couple on Zoom. They've been married 28 years. And I got them to do the dyad, which means all they get to say is thank you, and the other one shares. They've never done that. They always interrupt each other all the time for 28 years. And they just had to sit there and burn in the fire. And you could just see them wanting to crawl out of their skin because they wanted to be right so they could be in control. And I just made them sit there. And then after a couple of rounds, the tears started. And they said, I've never felt like you've ever heard me, ever, until today. It's miraculous.
That's amazing.
It's miraculous. So the work works. You got to commit to it. I don't want to pussyfoot and just give you a little bit of relief in 3 months. We're going to have lasting change. I want to give you, but I wanted to give you a fish. I want to teach you to fish. And the community is beautiful, safe, honoring, and high level. And we do the work, and that's the way through. And I'm so proud of my community, and they inspire the shit out of me. And
that's awesome.
We got to be together on a retreat in Mexico last October, and just to have a hug was just, I mean, we've had so few hugs. That's another thing I would say to couples. Bookend your day with a 10-second hug. And I mean full body. I mean full body, and rest. You'll notice after 1 potato, 2 potato, we normally break. 3 potato, 4, 5 potato. Oh, we're still there. Surrender more. Surrender more. 10 seconds. Whatever's underneath the surface will arise. And it could be hurt. It could be sadness. It could be I miss you. It could be I desire you. Whatever's under will be revealed if you slow down for a full-on 10-second hug, morning and night. And then you put in the practice of talking about whatever that was in a healthy way, like we teach. Or if it's desire, let it come from that deeper heart, sacred sexual place, rather than more of the perfunctory place. And you'll realize that you don't just have sex that night, you make love. So these 10-second hugs can also be transformational.
I think there's a pattern that happens in a longer term relationships, especially where it's you just that physical connection for people starts to get less and less and less. And again, even if it's just like you said, the quality of your hug, that affection, that taking the time to just pause and hold each other for a few extra seconds and just mindfully be there. Not like as soon as I'm done with this, I'm going to go do that. Not like what's my next step after this, but I'm just here. Like you just sink into it right now. And it's very powerful. I mean, it may not sound like it, people that are listening, if this is not part of your routine, but trust me, and what Allana is telling you, it's a very powerful process, and you should give it a try if it's important to you to keep nurturing your relationship. Because, right, if you don't keep nurturing it, if you don't keep fertilizing it, if you don't keep cultivating it, then it's gonna die. Anything that you want to hang on to in your life, whether it's your finances, your health, your relationships, you can't just let them be stagnant. They'll die. You'll lose them. So you have to keep cultivating and nourishing and being mindful, tending to it, right? And then it's something beautiful, and you'll hang on to it, and it will flourish and thrive.
Yeah, that's so well said. I like giving them so the first week I'm like 10-second hugs morning and night. Next week, 10-second hugs, and then tell me a thought in your head, a sensation in your body, and a truth in your heart. Because a lot of the times we're just spinning in our head. We don't notice that we're feeling anxious. We don't notice that we're aching for touch. We don't notice that we're feeling scared. And then we don't ask our heart what its truth is. We ask our mind. And that really drops people into a whole other level. I have all sorts of fun little things I get people to do.
Yeah, I can tell. When you come back from India, perhaps we can do this again and we'll carry on some more, because I know we're closing in on our time here. Okay, so let me ask you this before we sign off. By the time this episode drops, we're going to be close to Valentine's Day, and people usually do the same things. Is there any little what? Try something maybe different. Try this year. Is there any little fun tidbit you want to drop in people's minds?
Well, I have two tidbits. So the first one is, if any of this has spoken to you and you're like, I want to do the work, I want you to go to my website, which is my name, and you can register for an intimacy blind spot breakthrough call with my amazing intimacy success advisor, because we often think we know what it is, but if we knew what it was, we'd change it. So it's going to be a blind spot. And that could be the biggest gift you could give your relationship, way more than just flowers or chocolate or whatever. It's the gift that keeps on giving the whole year long, your whole marriage or lifetime long. So that's really, that's the mature spiritual answer I want to give you. But a tactical answer, back to the flowers, I'd like you to, and you can get, if you're, for your man, if he likes chocolate or tortilla chips, or I don't know, 10 new drills, or I don't know, get him a dozen something, and get her a dozen of her favorite flowers. And I want you to give those gifts to each other one at a time with the statement, a reason I appreciate you is, and then finish the sentence. And I want 12 roses, and I want 12 reasons why you appreciate her. And same with whatever gift you want to give him.
Ooh,
I appreciate you because, and I want you to go deep. I want it to be, because you make my favorite meatloaf, even though you know I hate it, or I know you hate meatloaf, but you make it for me. Or, just the way you look at me across the room, it just still moves me all these years later. Or, or just watch the way you are with our kids. And I'm so proud that we're parents together. Like, take your time and really, and I don't mean to be morbid, but today's a gift. We're not guaranteed tomorrow.
Nope.
So what have you not said and made it land? Make it land. So sit the person down, put a nice little crown on their head, or I don't know, make it all special. Get down on one knee and give them one at a time, and how much you appreciate, worship your beloved. And make it land. And probably after flower number 4 or 7, they're going to be in tears or smirking or laughing. And then probably by flower or gift 10 or 11, you'll be in bed making love, hopefully, if the kids aren't around or whatever. But let it really blow your hearts open. Have it be an experiential gift.
Amazing. Yeah. I love that, because you're right. What you did was you took something that, is not unusual for people to do, is to get a gift. But then you said, but how do I make that actually truly more meaningful? Because, every year you can think back and go, well, I think I got flowers last year. I think I got chocolates last year. Or I can't remember, or whatever. But the speech or the letter, however you're going to deliver it, that is something that will be remembered.
Oh, yeah. And then when you look at that bouquet of flowers for the next week or 2 before they die, it's not just a bouquet of flowers. It's every reason he appreciates me. Right. And whenever you're doing whatever you're doing with the gift that you get for him, when he uses that drill, or when he does whatever he does, his new socks or whatever you got him, you'll be like, oh, she appreciates me. And so that's really, we live for experiences. Our ego wants us to look good and be right, but our heart just wants to be seen and understood and connect.
Appreciated.
So, these experiences are really what nourish a relationship over time. So when you think about, here I've got $100, what is the richest experience I could create with this, rather than the biggest bells and whistles I could buy to impress him or her?
Yeah, I love that. All right. So listeners, you got that? 12 flowers, 12 drill bits, 12 chocolates, 12 beers. Try not to drink them all at once. You get the idea. But then the most important part is writing out this statement, what I love about you or appreciate about you.
Yeah. Yeah.
and filling in the blank. And if you're really scratching your head, then you probably want to think that you may have some more work to do. But, you know, I think if you think, okay, seriously, if this was my last day on earth, what would I be saying? What would I want to convey? And come up with something that is really, truly honest and from the heart. Don't make shit up. You know?
Totally. Yeah. And if there's so much resentment, hurt, pain, and you just can't even do the exercise without saying son of a bitch or whatever you want to say, you've got work to do. Please do it.
Yeah.
Please do it. It's for your own, so you don't get cancer and have toxicity from all of the negativity inside your body, but it's just for you. It's your birthright to be free of all of this and grow from all of this and thrive in your relationship with yourself and your beloved. It's for your family, so they don't keep repeating the patterns that you're teaching them. It's the gift that keeps on giving when you really take care of yourself. So I look forward to hopefully meeting some beautiful souls and supporting you on your journey and hearing how Valentine's Day went. And I'm still working from India. I'm getting up late or getting up early and staying up late. I'm making it work. So
that's so cool. I can't wait to hear about your journey. Before I let you go, why don't you share your social media, your website, make sure people know where to find you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So a lot of YouTube videos, over 5 million views. So my name on YouTube, Allana Pratt, lots of great resources there. I'd love to have you on my podcast. It's called Intimate Conversations. Yeah. So I have lots of good, intimate, obviously, edgy, raw, real experts there to share. So that's another resource. And then my site, allanapratt.com/connect. That's how you have one of those intimacy blind spot breakthrough calls with my intimacy success advisor. Her name's Natalie. Or you could just start with our free assessment. It's an intimacy blind spot assessment. You can go through that totally complimentary just to get a deeper feel if we're your jam.
That's awesome. And we will also put those links in the show notes, so it will be easy for people to find. Allana, you have been delightful, and I have so enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you. Likewise. Neighbor?
Yeah, I know. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. But yes, you've been amazing, and I'm very excited for your journey to India. And I really do want to keep in touch throughout that. I'm super curious about it. And yes, so everyone, please make sure that you go and check out all of the amazing stuff, because Allana really does have a ton of stuff on her YouTube channel and resources on her website. So please go and check it out. You won't be sorry. There's a lot of great tools for you there. All right, that's a wrap. I am going to hope that I'm going to be hearing some feedback about your Valentine's Day this year after those juicy tidbits. So you guys, to find out what private coaching with me is all about, you know to head on over to LoreeBischoff.com. And if you found value in this show, please share all the good shift being shared here. Give us a 5-star rating and a review, because you know those reviews help inspire other people to check it out. Until next week, stay feisty, my friends. Stay focused on cultivating your relationships and go make some epic shift happen in your lives. Oh, and that goes for you too, Mr. Gary V.